You might remember the question that is seldom asked: what religion are you? How about another question: where did religion come from? There were major movements in the Western world that caused many intellectual types to ask this question. Events such as the Protestant Reformation, the Age of Discovery, and the Enlightenment prompted people not to just accept the taken for granted quality of religion. By the time the 1800s rolled around, certain early social scientists and churchmen began to ask, why did religion begin? Thanks to the Age of Discovery, a premise shared by many was that the answer to that question could be found by investigating the religions of primitive people. We no longer use the term primitive, but they did. The first few theories go under the category of animism. This is a term you will become quite familiar with. Animism comes from the Latin anima, meaning spirit or soul. This will be a root metaphor for the religions we will investigate during our first module. The first theory we will look at comes from Edward Burnett Tylor, who wrote a book called Primitive Culture. Tylor argued that religions began through the inability of primitive cultures to tell the difference between dreams and reality. Here's a pre-corona in-class scenario. Back in those days, you would have shook hands and introduced yourselves to each other. Now pretend you are a tribe. You are nomadic, traveling from place to place. Two members of your tribe, Jack and Jill, are older and wise. They are very charismatic and have served as leaders for your tribe for many years. One day, you are following your leaders through a beautiful field lined with mountains. Nature can be quite capricious, however. While the ground beneath your feet is shaking, there were huge rocks and boulders rolling down the mountains. Lo and behold, a huge boulder fell on Jack and Jill, crushing them. You are all in a frenzy of fear, seeking leadership and comfort. The earthquake stops, and you go over to see if Jack and Jill might still be alive. Some of you are trying to remove the boulder, but you don't have any machinery. You stand there watching the life leave Jack and Jill. You all break out with crying and wailing and disbelief. You all feel so depressed and tortured that you have trouble going to sleep. Finally, sleep does come to your tribe. Upon waking, one of you yells out, "I saw Jack and Jill. They were so alive in my vision. Jack was hunting and Jill was gathering like always." Another member of the tribe says, "I saw Jack and Jill too." They must be alive, you think. So your tribe rushes over to welcome Jack and Jill. But sadly, they are still under the boulder, starting to decompose and get ripe. You and other tribe members are trying to make sense of Jack and Jill being so alive in your dreams, but so dead under the boulders. So in this theory, your primitive tribe began to believe that Jack and Jill are still alive, still animated in another realm, an invisible landscape. So the years pass, and your generation have offspring, and they will have offspring. Each generation tells their children about Jack and Jill. Guess what happens over the years? What happens to the status of Jack and Jill? Over time, Jack may become a father sky figure, and Jill a mother earth divinity. All because you primitive people couldn't tell the difference between dreams and reality.